What's up, people? Let me get you set up right here. See if I got that strategic place where you cannot see my credentials. All right, looky here. I talk to a lot of people, a lot of my friends, a lot of people that go to Florida a lot, and I'm just trying to tell them all the time. It's like, look, 95% of the time I do not haul out of Florida. I made a good video last week. I was in Sarasota, and I seen some good things or good loads, and I made a video, and I'm not sure what happened to that video, so I'm gonna have to try to recreate some of that content. So I have pulled up a Sarasota, within 100 miles of Sarasota. But before I go into this real quick, the first time I took a load into Florida was back in, since I'm in OTR, was back in 2014. And I went down there with Roadrunner and delivered in the place right around Medley, around to Miami. And we had a backhaul down there that brought us right back to one of our terminals in Decatur, Georgia. So I got there and I got on the list. And the way they operated down there is they loaded out 3 loads a day from Medley back up to Florida, or Medley back up to Decatur for $700. Is it was, if everything felt good, I mean, it was pretty cool. Pay for fuel and put about another $450 in your pocket. But so it was pretty sweet if you worked it out right. So I get down there, I get on the board. I'm number 3 driver. No, number 4 driver. So they load 3 loads out that evening, and they don't start loading these loads out until like 6 o'clock in the evening. And usually about 10 o'clock, the first one bills out. 10:30, 11, the second one bills out. 11 to 12:30, the third one bills out. So here it is, 12:30, the third one's billed out, and the guys told me, sorry, dude, you're going to have to wait till tomorrow. We billed out to 3. I said, cool. I sit around, enjoying the nice weather down here. Well, anyway, day 2, sit down there all day. It's about 6 o'clock. Put my trailer in the door, or started sitting and waiting. Got to about 12 o'clock after 2 of them left, and they came out there and knocked on the door and said, hey man, we ain't got enough to fill you out. The remainder is going to have to be tomorrow. I was like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. All right, cool. So day 3 came around, and they came out. It was probably around 8 or 9 o'clock that evening or that night, and they said, hey buddy, we got you going. See you next time. Be safe. Now we're talking 3 days to get a $700 load. I got up the road about 1 o'clock. I got tired. I pulled over, I think at one of the plazas, right before I got into Orlando. And pulled into one of the plazas, went to sleep, got up the next day, and I got home that night. So I can't remember what day it was. It's been a long time ago, but let's just say I got to Miami and delivered Monday morning. I got to the shipper to go back to Decatur Monday evening. So Monday evening, Tuesday, Wednesday. All right. And then when I got to Decatur, Thursday evening, Thursday night. So Monday to Thursday, I killed time waiting for a load for $700. Take off fuel, I profited about $450. Take off about $60 coming back up through Orlando, 50 something I think it is. Now we're talking $390 for 4 days. Now that comes down to less than $100 a day, or let's even make it 3 days. $125 a day. And I'm an owner operator, right? I'm supposed to be making money. So I wasn't happy about it. I lost a lot of time and effort, and I could have been turning and making money. So the next load I got down to Florida, I told my load coordinator, I said, look, I'm going to Medley, and I told him like 4 days in advance. I said, put me on the board. If I can't load that day, I was like, I can't afford to stay down there. He said, all right, well, he said, we're doing it right this time. We're getting you on the board way ahead of schedule. You should be one of the first drivers. I'm like, cool. So I get down there, and everything this time worked out and planned accordingly. I delivered. Let's again. I'm gonna use an example. I got there safe Monday evening or Monday morning. Delivered Monday evening or Monday afternoon. I got over to the shipper to go back to Decatur, and I've done everything right. I'm the number 2 driver for that day. Sweet. I'm thinking, awesome, man. This is pretty cool. I ain't gonna be sitting around here no 2-3 days now. So I'm number 2 driver. They started loading us about 6 o'clock. I put my trailer in the door about 6 o'clock. About 11:30, they said, "Hey, buddy, we're good. We got you loaded. Come on, get on out of here. See you next time, brother. Be good." And I'll always love the crew in Miami, man. I love the crew in Miami. They was some cool people. They was down to earth, and well, I mean, the people in Miami are just different. They don't, the drivers down there are nuts, but the working folks down there, I mean, it's just different. If you go to Miami, the people, man, it's just a different world. I love it. Love the people down there. Anyway, they got me out. I took off. And again, I got up the road a couple hundred miles, got tired. All right, let's pull over and sleep. Pulled into a rest area this time because I was like, hell with Orlando. I'm not going to pay that $60. So I went straight to Jack's, shot over on 10, and picked up 75 that way. I think it's like 30 miles longer with no tolls. So that's what I did. Anyway, got up, let's just say, that Tuesday and drove on in. Got back to Atlanta Tuesday night. And then I got to thinking, this don't make a lot of sense still because I just wasted a whole day on profiting $400. Now, again, I'm an owner-operator. I'm supposed to be making money, right? $400 a day after fuel. Was it really worth it? So, my next time I went in, I got thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? My time's more valuable. Is a whole day worth $400 profit, or is my time more valuable? I'm already going to be making enough money to cover fuel to Deadhead out if I'm going into Florida. So let's run these numbers, and the numbers came to be I was making about $800 to $1,100. In between that, $800 to $1,100 more just to go to Miami versus back to Atlanta. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm making enough money to. Oh, that's also before or after fuel to come out. I was like, hell with waiting around down there. I'm already making another $800 to $1,100 more, depending on how much fuel I burn, by going down there and deadheading back at $225, $250 in fuel. I believe I'm gonna do that. I don't think a whole day sitting around for $400 is worth it. My time's more valuable than that. So the third time I went down, I unloaded, say, Monday night or Monday morning. I was back in at Decatur and at the house Monday night. See, I was home 24 hours sooner than I was for $400. So since then, I've only hauled one load out of Florida, and that was a few months ago. I've been to Florida, I couldn't tell you how many times in the last 3-4 years, but I can only tell you this. I've only hauled 3 loads out of Florida. The first 2 were a nightmare, I just told you. The third one that I hauled out was 2-3 months ago. I delivered in Tallahassee from the house, and as a Coca-Cola load during the week of the hurricanes. So I took advantage of that and hauled some freight in. And my broker said, hey, man, I got you a load. It's over here in Panama City, right there before the beach. It's in Panama City, but it's a load of scrap metal, of aluminum. And it was less than 300 miles, right around 300 miles. For some reason, I'm thinking 321. I don't think it is 321. Anyway, it came to be damn near $3 a mile to come out of Panama City Beach and go to Steele, Alabama for $900. I thought, shit, yeah, I'll run that. That's the last load I've run out of Florida. So I'm gonna tell you right now, 95% of the time, I do not haul out of Florida. I will deadhead out. And I just gave you an example of why. And I want to further it up and back up another reason why I do not haul out of Florida. Now, again, I always check the board. They may be a good load. I always check with my brokers. They may be a good load, like that one that paid me damn near $3 to come out of Panama City. Now, it was a recyclable aluminum load, so my trailer was it was a mess afterwards. And I took time and cleaned it. I wish I would have just paid for a trailer washout, gave somebody $40. Next time I will, because it paid well enough. I could afford it to do that and still made plenty of money. But yeah, I always check. There may be a gem that you can pull out. But as a regular, say the other 95% of the time, you're gonna find stuff like this. Excuse me, I just looked at one like this. Canton, Ohio, Tampa to Canton. It's 1,066 miles. Now the average rate, the market rate's been $1.10. That comes to $1,172. And I'm gonna tell you right now, out of the Chattanooga area, I can load that same load going to Canton, Ohio, because that's one of my favorite lanes. I can get that same lane, same run, for anywhere from $1,000 to $1,400. Okay. Now this one, let me do this right here. Let me give you a visual. Drag us down here in the screen. Okay, remember this 110. Now this ain't set in stone. This is just to give you an idea. But it's 110 times by 1,066 miles, which comes to $1,172. Okay. Now, do you want to make? Let's just say $1,200. Do you want to make $1,200 for 1,066 miles? And let's go ahead and round that up to 1,100 miles. Or would you like to make about the same, if not more, for 500 miles, 550 miles? Now, take this into account. I take that load. Let's say it's $1,200, and let's say the mileage comes to 1,100. Let's say I haul a load and I get 6 miles a gallon. That's 183 gallons, right? Remember 183. Or I can take 1,100, take off 550, and deadhead home. At deadhead now, let's just say 7.5, because I'm going to be running pretty hard. At 73. All right, 73 gallons. Remember 73 gallons. All right, and now pick up a load and run that and average 6 miles a gallon. Okay, that's 91 plus 73 gallons of deadhead. That's 164 gallons. 164. And I'm thinking 183, but let's just be sure. Now this is to haul a load from Tampa all the way to Canton. 183. All right. Now you see the fuel difference. The fuel difference right there. What was that? I really need to remember stuff. All right, 91 plus 73. Whoops. Dadgummit. All right, let's take away that 183. That's an extra 19. Just say 20 gallons of fuel. Let's say your average cost is $275. All right, that's an extra $55 plus extra wear and tear on your truck. So that's getting down to the nitty gritty. Now, again, what would you rather do? Make $1,172 or say $1,200 to haul a load 1,100 miles, or would you rather make that same money, if not a little more, for half the loaded miles? See, it don't make sense. Let's see. I'm gonna click on a couple of these and see if they have any rates on it. See right here, sometimes they put an offer rate right here and how much the load pays. Sometimes. Okay, there's nothing I'm seeing to give it a good example of stuff that I actually know about. But I will tell you this. Last week when I was in Sarasota, there was a load that was coming out of Tampa, and it was going to Lenexa, Kansas. All right, Lenexa. Now get this, the load was paying $1,200. I called them. They said, no, $1,200 is it. No budge. They would not budge at all, even though I told them what I just went to Lenexa for. And I can't remember the mileage, but you can, Tampa to Lenexa and come up with the mileage, divide that by $1,200, see what you come up with. But that same week, before I went to Florida, I went to Lenexa, Kansas, out of Chattanooga. And I took that load to Lenexa, Lenexa, Kansas, from Chattanooga for $1,700, and it was 700 miles, about 719. Now let me ask you this: would you want to come out of Tampa and put those extra miles for a load that paid $1,200 when you can go back home, say you live in Chattanooga, and get your direct broker that has a direct customer to haul a load from Chattanooga to Lenexa, Kansas for $1,700? Or do you want to haul one all the way from Tampa for $1,200? See, guys, it just don't make sense. You got to be smart. You got to be diligent. You got to look around. You got to see what these guys are paying. You got to know your niche. You got to know what lanes you run and know what you can do back home or wherever you like. If my operation, I'm back and forth through my home a lot, so I take a lot of that in consideration, and it just don't make sense to haul loads out of Florida unless they're those gems. Oh, here you go. Plant City, Florida to Malden, South Carolina. That's 582 miles. Their offer rate is $800. That ain't bad if you're going back that way, because they're already offering, their offer is above the market rate. But most of these loads, man, they just don't make sense. Now, if you take into consideration the time it takes to get to the shipper, the time it takes to get loaded at the shipper, the time it takes to do all the paperwork and get to the receiver, the time it takes to get your load off at the receiver, the time it takes to bill, the time it takes to everything, is it really worth the time? Hell no. Not knowing that I can deadhead back up to Georgia and get a load and go in the same direction and still make more money than initially pulling it out of Florida. Look, guys, we're in business to make money. Treat it like a business, it will pay you like a business. But if you treat it like a hobby, well, it's going to cost you like a hobby, and we all know hobbies are expensive.